Hello, everyone, and thank you so much. Like always, so I see some new names there. Could be my fault. Maybe I didn't realize you were there last time. So, Matthew, welcome. We have another gentleman. Uh, I hope I don't mispronounce your name. And Aswile, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but welcome. Anil, good to have you back. Anil Madani, Muhammad Ali Ibrahim. So thanks everyone. And as we've had, thanks Matthew, same here. And as we've done in the past, we will be putting the link, the YouTube live link onto the chat right now. Request you to please log into the YouTube live using the link that's on the chat directly because we'll be taking questions from there. With that, we look to start the session. So thank you very much, everyone, for attending. Like in the past, thank you for devoting your Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening, wherever you are, for the pursuit of knowledge. I do hope you get, and in my view, if there's even one good point that we can pick up in a session and we take that forward and benefit from it, then it's time and effort well spent. So I hope that's the case. Uh, for others who've attended the session so far, thanks very much. Today's session 6, which means we finish the 12 hours today, 6 sessions, 2 hours each approximately. And we will, at the end of this, we would like to do a short survey, feedback, please, so that we can improve this. This was an experiment that we tried to do for the first time. I hope it was of benefit and would really like your comments so that we can do a bit more on an ongoing basis as we go along. With that, I'm going to actually stop this screen share, start the slides for today. So just give me a sec. And I'll switch off the camera for reasons of bandwidth, just to make sure that the voice quality is much better. As always, do please bring in your questions via the chat on the chat on YouTube Live, not so much the chat on Zoom. Yes, so this should be it. I can see it on my monitor. Hopefully, everyone else can see it. I hope the voice quality is okay. If not, I'll request my team to let me know. But when we tried it and tested, it was all right. So hopefully, so far, so good. Thank you. I get a message that it's all okay. So great. So with that, let's move forward. Now, unlike the last times, I have always repeated and done quite a substantial recap. This time, I don't intend doing that. For one, it's session number 6, and we've had enough repetition. And I think it's been enough of an opportunity to be clear on what the 6 stages are, to be able to have it embedded in our mind, to be able to articulate it in a structured manner. If someone said, okay, how do you implement BCM? Then it would be really nice if you could say, well, typically it can be divided into 6 stages. These are the 6 stages, and I'll recap it for you briefly, but I'll go fast. I'm not going to spend much time on the recap. And not just that we've recapped quite a few times, but importantly, there's a lot to cover today. Validation has a lot of content. It could be slightly a bit of, I would say, overload of information. So I hope not. You do have ability to kind of just, excuse me, go slowly. And importantly, that too can be split up into 3 very definite stages. So I hope once you're able to do that in your mind, then you can understand, remember, and even explain. Uh, it kind of is a much better way of you representing your knowledge, that you can structure it into components and explain how they all come together. So going fast, my own background, not going to spend much time on this time. About us as an organization, keep going fast. We are in the BCI Hall of Fame as a 4-time winner of the regional. It says 3 times plus, so that's more than 3 times. It's 4 actually, of the Regional Service Provider Award by the BCI. What we do, we specialize only, I would say, in the entire business continuity life cycle. By only, I'm saying that's the crux of what we do, the be all and end all. Many entities do zillions of things, of which business continuity is one. We actually just do this. Hopefully, we therefore specialize much more in this kind of than perhaps others. I'm getting an issue with the machines. So just give me a sec. This hasn't happened in the past. So maybe I'm going to stop screen share and restart. Okay, so far so good. So moving forward, overview. This is important. I hope everyone remembers it by now. The 6 stages of the life cycle as articulated in the BS 25999 BCM standard, the BSI standard that actually was released before the ISO 22301. The 22301 kind of replaced this. And by that, what I'm saying is when the 22301 was introduced, thank you, Said. Thanks for your time to come here today. Appreciate it. If it wasn't for you folks listening, then I'd be wasting my time. So I think we are all in it together collectively, and that's what a community is. Hopefully, we are supporting, helping each other. So back to the standard. The when the 22301 current standard was introduced, earlier it was a 2012 version. Of course, now it's 2019. At that time, the BS 25999 was withdrawn. So technically, it ceased to exist in some ways. That's one reason why we are comfortable to use this in this diagram. And I do feel that it very nicely explains the 6 stages in terms of the way to structure them and how they work together, one stage leading to another. So good to make sure that in your mind you have these 6 steps in mind with the arrows. One, program management in the center. Two, embedding. And embedding, we would say, at least at that time, the way we used to explain it is it's like the skin that keeps the orange together. It keeps it tight, it keeps it together. It's the shepherd that when the flock of sheep go out, he manages to keep them together and they're all kind of in one bunch. So perhaps that's the way the skin, the outer embedding also can keep the whole thing together. BCM program, that's stage one, embedding stage two. Uh, Three, understanding the organization. Four, recovery strategies. Five, plans, which is what we've covered so far. And stage six, that's what we'll be doing today. Um, it earlier said, per the typically, it has always been articulated as exercising, reviewing, and maintaining. I'm not too happy with that. I think it's not about maintaining a BCMS. Maintaining means perhaps where you are right now. To me, the BCMS is actually looking at the upcoming and future requirements. Ideally, the next 6 months at least, possibly 1 year. So the typical review frequency or maintenance when you update is you kind of do it at least once a year, if not more frequently. Some geographies do some parts earlier. For example, in Oman, if I'm not wrong, but the central bank, the BI must be updated twice a year, so kind of once in 6 months. And to me, that's an organizational decision. My view would be if the degree of change is a lot, your people are changing, your processes are changing, you're adding new things, old ones are maybe disappearing and getting replaced by something else. Maybe you're acquiring new companies, new organizations, growing through acquisition. If the degree of change a lot is a lot, then I believe your BCMS perhaps once a year it would be hugely outdated, and you'd put yourself at risk. So if it's just a small degree of change, then maybe once a year is fine. But if not, I believe you should be encouraged to do it much faster. The middle column out here is the BCI GPG professional practice name, and lo and behold, I mean, they map perfectly together. So the answer is you can look at any methodology, and as long as it's structured in terms of these 6 components, and from that you can kind of rework or get a sense of the BCI approach, which is largely the same. It's easier to remember because it's one word. Yet sometimes one word doesn't give you the full flavor. So I think it's a combination of these two that gives a much better idea. And even the 22301 maps perfectly with this. So the intention of this courseware by FQA, for those who don't know, FQA is UK based management systems organization. Typically looks at certification. So they are not a training provider. They are a training facilitator, but not a training provider. Their forte is certification. And so far in this course, I've deliberately not mentioned the word certification, and I actually will not do it again during the course of this lecture today, because there is no strings attached. We are not asking you to do this course with an objective to certification. This course is purely free for reasons of knowledge. But if there are people who've done this and said, yes, okay, now that I spent 10 hours of effort, let me try and have a demonstrated output from that whole exercise. So if there are people who would like to get certified at a basic level, it's not going to be a very advanced certification because we are not teaching advanced concepts in this. The targeting for this course actually is people who are looking to know a bit more. This is not for experts. This is certainly not an expert course, but I'd say it's kind of level two is what I'd call it. People looking to understand a bit more and really seeing, do I want to be an expert? In which case, you may need some more specialized knowledge. So, for people, so I would say this course is about at level on a scale of 10 at about takes you somewhere between level 4 and level 5 would be my assessment. If you did a much more in-depth course like the lead implementer or something like that, then I would say you're close to 9 on 10 or the lead auditor. Uh, so in this, the intention is just to get you to a level of say somewhere around 4 to 5 on 10. And if there is someone separately who wants to get certified, that's a separate discussion outside this course, which I'll maybe refer to just at the end, time permitting. If so, those people can touch base with us later, or my team can send them the details of FQA, and you can be in touch directly via FQA. With FQA, if need be, we can help put you in touch. And if you like, do their level 2 exam, and good luck to you. So, again, this is not about certification, it's mostly just about the knowledge. And I'd call this principles of BCM. If I had to give a name to this course, I'd say principles of business continuity. It does define the principles, but again, to follow a principle, you need hands on experience. The example I give often when I teach is who's learned how to drive a car just by watching, and almost never do any hands go up. You can't just look at what someone is doing to know what it takes to drive a car. You need to be explained the principles. You need to do hands on practice. You need to get that practice right. Only probably then can you qualify for your license, get approved, and with that license, the license authority is then saying, we trust you. You're not going to kind of be a menace on the roads, and you'll be hopefully a good driver from what we've seen, and best of luck. So I'd say this is principles of BCM, but if someone really wanted to get much deeper, then you're certainly going to need a higher level and depth of knowledge, and also the relevant hands-on experience. Um, 6 stages: BCM stage one, program management. 6 elements of that, as we've covered in the past. It's like, as I said in the first lecture, you're planning a big party, you're kind of planning a huge event. What all do you need to do to make that event a success? So, various aspects, and like that, if you're planning a business country program, these are six things that you'll need to keep your eye on and keep them reasonably structured, get agreements and understanding around it. And with this signed off in place and fully agreed, we would then say you have all the clarity and the permissions you need in order to go ahead with your event. And of course, in this case, the event is a BCM implementation. Let's say you've got the clarity, you've got the sanction, you've got a project plan in place, you've got the resources, everything arranged and in place. Fantastic. Now, do you just jump in and start, or do you let relevant people know that, look, this is happening? I may need your help. There are some whose help you will need for sure because they are part of the project plan. There are many who may not be part of it, but whose help you still may need if things go wrong. Just as maybe even as extra knowledge, someone may come up with great ideas and thoughts. So why rule that out? So once you've got things reasonably in place, then it's good to communicate to everyone. Look, this is what's happening. This is the day. This is the plan. This is what we'll be doing. These are the people to contact. And hey, I mean, if there's some help, we are going to ask you, and I hope you don't mind. And if you have any thoughts and improvement ideas, let us know. So I think good thing to do. So stage two, inform everyone, let them know. Stage three, start the process, get into it, start implementing the activities. And normally it starts with the BI and the RA. Most people who are familiar with business country will recognize that these are two critical stages. Often we'd call it the backbone. And as I said earlier, I would see this as the Google map, which kind of decides which direction you're going in, where you want to go, the overall compass. So this helps you know, A, through the BIA, if everything was down and not working, then what do you need to bring up and when? And B, in order for it not to be down and in order to not have a problem, what possible issues do you need to resolve now, so that hopefully the disruption doesn't happen at all. And if it does happen, it manages, you're able to bring it under control quite fast, with no major long term implications. So, two very important things that we do in understanding the organization. At the end of this stage, you then say, okay, I know what's really important, I know what has to be done. And then we come to the stage of designing business continuity recovery strategies and solutions. How would you do it? So we know what has to be done, but at this stage we probably don't know how it has to be done, what the possibilities are, what the options are, what the cost is, what will work well, what will not work well. So stage 4 is when we take those decisions. Out of various possibilities, we try and identify the few ones that we feel will work in order of priority, maybe first choice, second choice, third choice. um, pr- Analyze them thoroughly, present it to management that these are the various options that we could think of. This is the way we see it. This is our analysis. And based on this, this is what we recommend. We think this will work, this will not work. This is the approval we need. This is the cost we need, the budget we need. So we present that. So at the end of stage 4, you've got a sign off from management and an agreement of what has to be done. And importantly, if there are challenges, you've even placed those challenges before them. That look, this is a single point of failure. I believe that we don't have a solution. So this is a problem, and I need you to know that this is a problem. At least it's a known problem, and then it's your call as a management team, and together we'll see whether we can still address it. But it's an issue, and I want to bring it to your attention. So that's what we've done at the end of stage 4. Whatever are the agreed solutions in stage 5, we implement those solutions. So if it's maybe bring on board a new supplier, let's bring on board that new supplier, let's sign the contract, let's implement it, let's get them start working, and let's see that truly that supplier is able to meet our requirements. Or could be new infrastructure, could be new equipment required, could be new processes. Whatever are those things that need to be done, A, to try and make sure that you can reduce the need to implement, to have a disruption. So you can manage the disruption much better. Ideally, you don't have a problem at all. Or if you do, you're able to contain it very fast. And B, if for some reason the problem did occur, the disruption did happen, you are constrained and you are going to miss your timelines because your basic process will not restart in time, your service delivery. Then at least let's implement our business continuity response. So we may not deliver the full solution perfectly as normally we would like to, as we do in business as usual, but at least let's make sure we do the really important things and we do them well. And through the BI, we also already know what's important. So if you're successful in doing the important things that really matter, for the important people, such as key interested parties, then we hope that, um, just a rough 80-20 kind of a 70-30, that the key issues we are addressing, they're taken care of. And therefore, um, we may struggle only with small things. The big things are taken care of. And to that extent, there is going to be less concern, less backlash, less problems. And once you manage the incident with luck, your important parties will say, look, you did a great job, no problem. I mean, you didn't give me everything I needed, and but you had a problem, and you did still a fantastic job within your constraints. So no issues. I mean, you're a great company. So at least from good BCM implementation, we are able to curtail the damage. And in fact, if you have a good BCM response, you can even come out of a bad situation much stronger than you were when you went in. One is because you've hopefully learned from your experience and improved it. So you certainly, through improvement and lessons learned, are much stronger after the incident. And hopefully that same incident would not create that much of a problem. The problem should be much less if it did happen again. And importantly, let's take a widespread incident. And the pandemic is a great example. If there's a widespread incident that affected everyone, um, Are you the entity that responded much faster, much more professionally, much more organized? In which case, you're the one that's going to pick up market share. The others who didn't do a great job will take a reputational hit. Maybe they lost real business. Maybe they took time to recover. And whereas you were much faster, much more nimble, much more effective, great communication, able to convince your customers that you are the ones to deal with. So there's a good chance there's going to be flight to quality, and they're going to say, why are we dealing with that other useless company which let us down? Let's deal with these guys because they seem to be much more professional, much better organized. So in my view, business country actually can help you, like any other major initiative, grow market share, increase revenues. And let's remember the English phrase, once bitten, twice shy. If they've had a problem with someone else, certainly they are not going to go back again and allow the problem to happen again. Therefore, as long as you, if you've got the business now and you continue to do a great job, the chances are they'll never leave you. So I've always maintained that business continuity should not be looked like as a defensive mechanism, something to just contain, protect, make sure that things don't worsen. But I would say a good business continuity program and a company that does a great job should actually be able to use this as a marketing tool, as a confidence builder, as a reputation builder, and be able to go out to other entities, customers, interested parties, and say, we are not going to let you down. Please rely on us and give us your business because we are great. So to me, that's actually the way I would like business continuity to be positioned. So where we are now, based on the last module, is we already have a plan. We created plans. We understood that process. What do we now? What do we do now? As I said, often this stage is called exercising, reviewing, and maintaining. I prefer to call it exercising, reviewing, and improving. Now that the BCM has been created, it's in this practice where we validate that the program and importantly, the documentation. It's not just the program. What is evidence of the program or evidence of robustness of the program? It's documentation and records. What are documents? Documents are the physical processes, procedures, things to be done. What are records? Records are the evidence of actually doing those things. So, for example, uh, an attendance sheet. We had a training course. Okay. Show me the evidence, show me the records. What records? Maybe who attended, maybe what was the training course topic, what was the coverage, what was the agenda, who attended, who didn't attend, how well they did in the exam. All of these are indicators. They are proof. They are what we call records. They tell you a story of what was done, how it was done, how deep and how effective, and how much value we got out of it. So importantly, in business continuity, as part of improvement, it's not just doing it, it's retaining that evidence of what was done, because that evidence tells you a story, and that evidence itself can be used to improve things further going onwards. What are we trying to check? That it's fit for purpose means it works for our purpose. Each organization has its own requirements from the business continuity management system. I had given an example in the first session of a bank, and I said there could be three banks, but each of them will have maybe a very different business continuity management system because their needs, priorities, strategic goals, management expectations, competencies, geographical areas of operation are different, including the specific focus of the bank. So the BCM program, when you review it, what you're looking to see is it's fit for our purpose, what we are expecting from it, and meets our key objectives. So whatever are the key objectives of the organization, they are fully supported by the BCMS. The important things will still happen, even if there are unexpected surprises and disruptions. We have put processes in place so that the important things will still happen. They may happen differently, and that's what business continuity is. It's doing a similar thing in a slightly different manner so that you're getting very much like the same initial expected result. But it's not identical. It's very similar, something that reasonably meets the objective of your interested parties, your end users. Purpose of this stage is to ensure that solutions are up to date and appropriate for the size, type, and complexity of the organization. ongoing and regular validation would enable the organization to be in a position to protect the organization by being able to respond and recover per the fit for purpose developed BCMS. So often when it comes to testing, exercising, reviewing, I use the example of moving into a new house. And the question I ask is, anyone moved into a new house? And hopefully in each session, someone or the other puts up their hand and I say, great. I mean, the day you moved in into your new house, everything worked perfectly, right? Day one onwards. And the answer is no, almost never. And we just had that experience with one of our instructors. He's just moved into his custom made new house. So it wasn't something kind of that they just bought and moved in blindly. They've done lots of work on it to get it to their requirements. So it's at their requirements. But did he manage to move in on day one and everything worked perfectly? And he said, great. I mean, nothing more to be done. No, now's when the problem starts, because you realize, no, this, I wish there was a nail here, and I wish this button was there, and we need a plug here, and this kind of maybe we need to, this window's not closing properly, whole bunch of maybe small things, hopefully not large things, but whole bunch of small things probably. And only after that's done, maybe about say 2 to 3 months later, will he probably be saying, now I'm easy. Most of it is done. This house is now the way I want it. It's fit for purpose. And I really don't need to spend much time actively. Periodically, maybe things will crop up. We'll deal with them. But fundamentally, now the house is fit for purpose. It meets my needs. So similarly, you've built your business county program. You built it properly. You built it consciously. You built what you felt was needed. You did your best. But when you start using it and testing it, most probably it's not going to be fantastic on day one. Lots of small issues, hopefully no large issues. And what if you don't do this? If you don't do this, you're going to be in a real-time situation, real-time disruption. And suddenly you realize that things don't work. Oh, this phone number, oh, this is wrong. Oh, this person, no, he's moved, there's someone else. Oh, this had to be done. Oh, this document is lying there. That person, oh, he's on leave. I mean, it can be all sorts of chaotic situations, and the point is, it's going to be frustrating, and most probably your BCMS will not deliver the desired value. In which case, this entire effort is wasted. Why having done it at the first place? So, quite critical that once you built it, quite quickly after that, with minimum delay, and maybe if I were to hazard a guess, I'd say about within a month of creating the plans, I would believe you should at least do your first initial testing, if I can call it that. So don't allow it to be too long. You probably can't do it the next day. You may need to just catch up on some other priorities at the same time. But quite soon, start planning it, start putting in place, and start executing within a few weeks, ideally, so that at least the initial set of issues and problems can be fixed or fine tuned. And I believe you may need even a second test. Probably after the second test, you may then have the mental satisfaction that this works and it's working perfectly, and kind of we are fully on top of it. No surprises. So even not just the first test, you may need the second test. So the sooner you start that, the better. So essentially, once you've started doing the testing and exercising, you can then say, okay, now this works. I'm familiar with it. My people know what to do, and more relaxed now that if something did happen, you should be able to manage it fairly well. In this stage, the organization makes sure that it exercises and tests, reviews, improves, and maintains its BCM arrangements. Exercising, review, and audit leads the organization to be able to demonstrate the extent to which its strategies and plans are complete, current, and accurate, and identify important opportunities for improvement. That's critical. It's not just about doing, it's about what needs to be done to keep making it better and better. So actually, you're competing with yourself to improve your BCMS constantly. And the intention is to make sure that post any initiative at all, what you have is now better today than what you had yesterday. 3 steps. So as I said in the beginning, when we summarized the other steps, you had quite a few cases of being very clear as to what was required in that stage. So like that, I would say, if you're talking about this stage 6, um, 3 points: exercise, reviewing, and improving. Exercise and testing, quite simple. Doing something that is required, you're practicing doing it. So why do we exercise? Many of you exercise probably in your personal life, which is the health based exercising. I'm not talking business country here. Why do you exercise? You exercise just to be fit. What do you mean by fit? Um, you are you're doing something on a regular basis, you're getting familiar with it, you're doing it for a certain period of time. So if it's maybe a stress test or heart rate, you are supposed to do it till you reach that heart rate. So some expectations, but mostly you do it because it has to be done. The output and expectation is just the process of doing it itself is value added. And then you can add metrics and performance, and I must be able to run for 5 kilometers, and I must do a marathon, and I should do this amount in 1 hour, and you can put timing and things to that. So an exercise is done for the sake of exercising. And importantly, an exercise often is a group activity. So when you exercise personally, yes, it could be individual, but often a corporate exercise in business country is the team performing that activity together. So each of you need to know what you need to do, and then as a team, of course, you need to be able to function well, like a soccer team or things like that. Reviewing, as the word says, review, look at it again, and improve. Simple, get better and better. I've written and maintains because, as I said, often people talk to about that as maintaining, but to me, maintaining as an aspect of improving. Certainly, I need to make sure that what's there works, but at the same time, I should be saying, do I now want to put in place something even better? Looking at what's coming up, looking at what the future holds, um, the latest model, the new activity, the new organization, the new geography, the new office. Let's even plan for that. Okay. What are we reviewing? BCM arrangement. So everything that we've done to put it in place. And through this, we are trying to make sure when we said it's fit for purpose, what do we mean by that? Complete, so nothing missing. Current, it's working as it is for today's environment and today's scenario, not maybe the last 1 year when you built it. That's kind of things would have changed, probably, certainly. And importantly, it's accurate, it works. And at the same time, we are identifying opportunities for improvement. Improve them now if you can. If you can't, flag them off for future improvement and maybe diarize it and put a timeline in place. So when the new office comes on board in Poland, this is what we need to do. Target date 1st June. So flag that those, get them approved by management, and they are in the system. And therefore, come that date, someone has an action to do something. So you at least identify the improvement opportunity now, and you can implement it at the right time. So three aspects: exercising, reviewing, and improving. ABC out here. Reviewing possibly can be separated into five, but I've included a sixth. The BCI also has performance appraisal as an improvement possibility. I would say I would call it certainly an improvement possibility. I would not say it's an automatic improvement. So it is something to be considered, but it's considered only if you take it forward. If someone did a good job or a bad job in his performance appraisal, often that does not automatically have an input into the BCM improvement process. So if you just look at it like a performance appraisal, you get some knowledge, but that knowledge is worth it only if you have an input from that into the improvement process, that person's opinion of what should be done, or if there's a deficiency, then your opinion what should be done to fix that deficiency. So therefore, BCI has it, I think, as item 4. Possibly I put it as item 6 because it's a bit of a question mark. The others are more logical and automatic. So three aspects: exercise and testing, reviewing and improving. We'll quickly walk through these three. Quick reminder, keep putting stuff on the YouTube channel in terms of comments. If you have any, um, request you to please certainly subscribe and certainly click the like button if you liked it. And if you didn't like it, click the dislike button. You should do as you feel is appropriate. We are walking through these three aspects. So aspect A, exercise and test program. Per this, we are trying to ensure that we schedule an ongoing series of robust exercises. So it's ongoing. It's not necessarily for this year only. In fact, you would be often very hard pressed to complete all the needed exercises in 1 year. Remember, you have a business to run, and there is BAU that each of your interested party expects. So you can't actually shut down everything and only do BCM testing and exercising for the next 6 months. You have to weave the exercise and test within your BU, being smart. So, for example, maybe utilize downtime. So maybe kind of the plant is closed if you're a manufacturing entity, or there's annual cleaning of the tanks, or during pandemic you're disinfecting certain things. So those could be times when the basic activity is closed and shut, and therefore perhaps people who normally are very busy, their time can be channelized for them to attend training. So you can be smart about that. Often in some geographies, for example, UAE and the Middle East in general, summer is the time when it's slightly lean, when schools are shut and therefore families take holidays and many people are on leave or not in the country. So those may be not great times to do major mass activities because many people are absent. So you'll have to be smart about when to schedule these. But critically, in a test and exercise program, what you do is you build the schedule that over a period of time, this is what I intend to do. And what's that period of time? In my view, 3 to 5 years, at least 3 years. I think if you met this objective that it says, per the standards, that the organization should schedule an ongoing series of exercises, that can identify everything. Ideally, the exercise and test should identify all the things that you need to do over a period of time, and therefore logically that I don't see you finishing all of that between earlier, say, at least 3 years, maybe even up to 5 years. What's the final ultimate, I'd say, the Mount Everest of testing and exercising? In my view, a live unannounced test on a working day. So it's BAU on a working day, and boom, the organization has so much confidence in its test and exercising that without telling, live unannounced, sorry, I want to add that word, announced, need to know basis, hardly anyone knows about it. And if you're able to actually have the courage to do a live unannounced test on a large scale on a working day, that truly is, I would say, the Mount Everest of exercising. Some organizations do that, and some have reached that pinnacle. So to me, that would be an example when I say it's going to take you at least maybe 2 to 3 years, maybe 5 years. That's my benchmark. That how long would it take you to get to the stage? Some organizations may say we don't want to do it. Their choice. It's their call. Sometimes, as an organization, you'd be willing to do it, but your customers may not be comfortable. So things to be managed. But I mean, let's be clear that if you did manage to do something like this, you could then say we really have a solid program and I really don't need to worry at all. Whatever it is, we can manage, hopefully. So the outcome of this exercise is an exercise and test plan. What's that? Which is a management signed off schedule. So it's not really a plan in terms of who does what and how it's to be done. There's a separate word for that, which would be kind of just a test plan itself. But this is more an exercise plan, which is over time, what has to be done and when in terms of the schedule. And each one of those activities, maybe like a class timetable, actually, that on this date, we'll do this at this time. Maybe you don't fine tune the time now, you do it closer to the date, but it's in your calendars by and large. And therefore, as you're getting close to that, there's a pop-up and you can make sure that well in advance, you can kind of plan properly how to execute it and do a great job. So good to have this exercise and test plan signed off by management at the very beginning. And it also means management committing that they want to do this next year or they want to do that next year. So you have prior notice of 6 months, 1 year, 2 years that look, this is 2 years later, we'll do this. So that's also a good way to benchmark and make sure that you keep improving your program because you've already scheduled in it enhancement activities, and management has approved. Also, by virtue of approving this, management implicitly is saying, don't worry. One is we have the commitment. We'll do this. We'll support you. And if you need funds and budgets, then we'll find it for you. So again, it's good to get it into it now rather than later. Each exercise and test would then be conducted in a structured manner. So you'd have an exercise and test objectives and the team and roll it out and kind of the plan that is to be exercised or tested, what the scenario is, who's involved, them understanding the roles and responsibilities, when's it to be conducted, how's it to be conducted, and then observers possibly to kind of evaluate and pass their own feedback, some sort of report, either there and then, like a hot debrief, or slightly more detailed, later written, documented, in depth, which then is actually used even for further improvement opportunities now, and even what to do next time. Supposing it went great this time, fine. Next time, let's raise the bar. We'll do something more complicated. So good to put that all in place and structure it and document it and make sure once you have done, we've captured these thoughts. So by the time the next exercise comes, we already have set expectations of what we intend to do, and we've made sure that the knowledge base stays. The terms are exercise and test are similar but different, so quite used interchangeably, and no issues at all in using them interchangeably. But exercise, as I said, often is kind of slightly a mass activity. It's more practicing. It's perhaps like the full football team together doing their runs or doing the push-ups or kicking the ball to each other or planning a move. So that's kind of more like an exercise. And test could be slightly more with a goal in mind. So probably the goal kicks and all could be testing. Okay, out of 100 kicks, how many times did you get it in the goal or something like that, to check competencies. So related but slightly different. So in an exercise, we are training, assessing, practicing, improving the ability. And what are we checking? Both response and recovery. So going back to module 5, we talked about two types of plans: response plans and recovery plans. Response to manage the incident. So if there's a fire or an earthquake or an IT issue or a people issue or the pandemic response, how do we bring the incident under control? And recovery, how do we plan to then restart our activities? So two related things but slightly different set of skills, different kind of ownership of these. So we are testing both of those as part of your overall BCMS. You want to make sure that you respond well to incidents so you can contain the incident and isolate it and put it behind you and move forward much faster. Slight noise, so just give me a sec. I'm going to pause for a moment. When we check the past recordings, I got the feeling that perhaps the noise is not coming through too much, but it's just a safety mechanism. Pointless I talking if you can't hear me. So just to be on the safe side. So we should test both response and recovery activities, and importantly, test kind of an exercise, but a more targeted exercise. One is tests are equipment based often. Testing the radio system, testing the kind of backup site, testing this new machine, that it meets the objective, it's able to deliver what we want, and also kind of a pass fail connotation. So probably when I go for my driving license, that's a test. I pass or I fail. It's not an exercise, certainly. I exercise all I need to, I practice all I need to, and then my driving instructor says, yes, now I think you're okay, I think you'll pass the test, and then I go for a test. So kind of similar activities with a slightly marginally different objective. Okay. So feel free to use them interchangeably. I think not a big issue. Some objectives, what are we looking to achieve, and various objectives. So good to just keep this in your mind. And a good exercise would cater to most of these. So when you prepare your own exercise and test plans or your schedule, keep in mind that these are some noble objectives, not necessarily watertight. Maybe there are more to add, but at the same time, at least try and make sure that you're at least covering these ones in what you intend to do. So practice and confirm the ability to recover. So can you restart your activities? Do you have the competencies, the processes? And when you follow those plans, are you able to restart? Importantly, it's not just about restarting. Remember module 1, it's about restarting in time. So if your MTPD is 4 hours and if you restarted in 6 hours, did you meet the objective? No, you didn't. Your interested parties could reasonably expect you to do it certainly within 4 hours. Beyond 4 hours, they have a right to be very upset. And guess what? You restarted just in 6 hours. So actually, you dropped the ball big time, and you let the organization down. So in exercise and test, we are looking to make sure that we can ensure that we recover well within the timelines. Ideally, around the RTO time, by the RTO, that's our target timeline. But even if something went wrong, in no cases should it take more than MTPD or MAO, as the case may be. Verify if the plans are comprehensive and updated. So as you did it, did you figure out that the data gaps? Did you figure out that there's wrong information? Please point that out. Let's fix it. Highlight improvement opportunities. So what can we do better? Question assumptions. Okay, last time in pandemic, a major assumption got tested, which is that normally the past plans have said the situation will not go on for too long. Now, in this case, it's gone on in many cases for almost 2 years. Big assumption. So it allows us to question that assumption, and it allows us to say, okay, this assumption may not be valid anymore, and therefore our plans need to cater for a much longer situation. So automatically that gives you a way to raise the bar and to come in with something that is much, much more aligned with that sort of situation. Information or resource gaps. So if it's going to carry on for a long time, then you can't manage with only prioritized activities. You even need to bring up non-prioritized activities. Obviously, you'll have resource gaps because in the initial cut, you probably said, look, if we just do prioritize, it's enough. Approximately 30%, give us those resources and we're good. But certainly in pandemic, you realize, no, you need more than that. So some learnings help embed changed attitudes and behaviors. So if there were people who were kind of skeptical about the BCM process, why do we need this, not done it before, why did these new theories come, this new person, what is he doing? I hope through exercising testing, you now start to say, actually, there's value in this. This was a good exercise. We learned some things. We are more confident. We are more capable. If it happens tomorrow, we can do a better job. And most entities, now that they are through the pandemic, kind of they manage, manage easily, some manage with a struggle, but I would say most of them managed. And now I hope they have a changed attitude to the need for business continuity. So the pandemic has taught them that BCM is important, BCM is needed, BCM is worth spending time and effort on, and BCM will provide you the value. What is the value? If you did have good business continuity and a practiced and fit for purpose pandemic plan, then almost certainly without much of a challenge, you would have moved into that plan, and already the critical things would have been reasonably in place, and almost with zero stoppage, or zero within acceptable parameters. You would have restarted your activities and kind of hardly even had to hesitate. And almost certainly your customers and interested parties who you deal with will say, wow, the whole world is struggling, everyone else in this industry is down, but these guys kind of were perfect. So great, thumbs up for your reputation, for your competencies, and presumably that increased reputation and uh, the trust in you should have got you a hell of a lot of new business. So I hope many people did do well in that whole scenario. So certainly the exercising testing should help you change attitudes and behaviors for the positive. Instill confidence. We can do this. Yeah, now I understand. No worries. I've done it twice now, so can do. Leave it to me. You can rely on me. No worries. Demonstrate teamwork. As we said, exercise is not an individual activity. It's not one person in the team running together. It's the full team as a whole, passing the ball one to another, using that to fox the opposition, and um, kicking it to the smart forward who's standing just at the right place in the D, ready to kick the ball home. So it's teamwork. It's not an individual skill necessarily. And that's what you test in an exercise, because it's the entire process happening as a team. Each one has to be competent, and them and their alternates. So make sure that in the exercises you include the alternates. Remember, we talked about training the alternates, so they know what they have to do, and they practiced during these exercises what should be done, and hopefully in real life they do it. So all good. In a real game, as you've seen, they have substitutes often, where the main person goes out, and sometimes the substitute comes on at the very beginning because the other main person is injured or there's some problem. So we do that normally in many other things. Why not just formally do it in BCM itself? Raise awareness by publicizing. So you'll normally do a report, send it out, some photographs, some comments. Wow, this went well, that went well. people talk about the learnings and what to do better and saying, wow, I mean, this was good stuff. Well done. So this is a good, these guys are smart. This BCM head is pretty good. Nice that the management was there. The CEO came himself. Wow, what a man. So lots of good things can come out of the exercise itself, and validate critically, technically, that confidence that this will work. We know what to do. Many times, if frankly, many of you, if you asked your coordinators today, what are your resumption timelines? I'm saying something which maybe I could be wrong on, but I think many of them would not know those timelines. They'd have to look up the document. Some may not even know what document to look up. Hopefully, some of them by heart would say, oh, if something was down, I need to do A in 2 hours, three in B in 5 hours, and C in overnight, and I'm good. I hope some people have that level of understanding, but certainly the more testing and exercising you do, the more these things will be part of their subconscious. They know it automatically, they know what to do. I don't need to sit down and read the manual. They've done it so many times that almost like driving. I use that example many times. I think all of us who've been driving for a long time now realize that we don't need to behave the day we did the first day we started to learn, looking at your feet, looking where it goes, nervous, etc. Now it's just confident. So that's how good our testing and exercising should be. So validate the ability to meet approved timelines, priorities, dependencies, resources, and other information systems, such as logistics, administrative matters. It should be kind of, I'd say, BCM information systems, not BIA. Anything else, the people part, the process part, the technology part, facilities, infrastructure, suppliers, utilities, all of those should really work. Okay. Objectives. So ensure that the exercise has clearly defined aims and objectives. So in this exercise, we are looking to reach the backup site within 30 minutes. In this exercise, we are looking to restart these three activities within 1 hour. In this exercise, we'll be looking to carry out 100 transactions. So specify those objectives, the depth, be clear, be it number or volume or time or effectiveness or efficiency or error rates, put in place metrics, criteria, KPIs. So did this exercise succeed? Yes. Why? Because this was the target and this is were our actuals, and our actuals were better than target or worse. If so, there's a learning. And I wouldn't say an exercise where you did not meet targets is a failed exercise. I may actually say an exercise where you did not meet targets actually is a successful exercise. At least the first couple of exercises, the objective is to learn. Uh, some people lower the targets so that they can meet them and say it's a successful exercise. I'd say that's a waste. You did not meet exercise objectives because you didn't set a proper target, and you didn't learn. And in real life, you're going to have some nasty surprises. So let's, in exercises, make sure that we don't beat up the messenger. Even if we did not succeed in meeting those objectives, there are reasons. Let's understand those reasons. Let's fix them. And let's be happy that we did a great exercise because it pointed out some problems. And by fixing those problems in real life, we'll be much better off. So, in fact, it's a great exercise. Realistic, carefully planned, agreed with stakeholders, particularly customers, maybe regulators. Don't take on something where you feel that it could actually create a problem. So there have been many cases where everything went well, but you exercised, and by virtue of the exercise, something went wrong. So you felt that the IT disaster recovery would work. So you wiped out the primary data and you realized that you could not actually load back the secondary data. So now you've lost the primary and you don't have secondary. Utter disaster. Or you've completed the exercise but not rolled back properly. So the test also went well. Fantastic. Great job. But in rollback, we made a problem and we made some mistakes and now we've lost something. So make sure that you've thought through very clearly the exercise as well as the rollback. And certainly it would be unacceptable to create that incidents occurred because of the exercise not being planned or thought through. Scale and complexity is appropriate to recovery objectives. So increase this over time, like climbing Mount Everest, base camp this time, next time camp 1, next time camp 2. We rest in between, we stabilize, we learn, we improve, and then we make sure that we are ready to attempt the next stage. We are fully set, and that's when we'll do it. So Pause, reflect, improve, be ready, and that's when you should do your enhanced exercise. So keep increasing the scale and complexity as you go along, stage by stage. Often you may need pre-training, pre-exercise training. So we have to do this, but so good chance many organizations do the training just before the exercise. Keep it fresh. So the last thing you want is you did the training 9 months ago and you're doing the exercise today and people have forgotten. Then you have damage done and you have a failed exercise. So good to do it, and good to keep it live. So keep refreshing that training. It's not that after this they forget. Some mechanisms to keep remembering and keep improving, and it becomes part of you again, as I said, like driving. And P and post exercise debriefing. So either there and then quickly collect as a team, talk it through what went well, what didn't go well, observations, improvement opportunities, ideas, and capture them, and then also kind of put them into a more detailed report. Okay. We'll take a few minutes more to wind up testing and exercising, and then we'll take a short break, about 10 minutes. Exercise and test program, check objectives, methods, resources, timing, and training needs. So all that is good. Make sure that they cover the BCM program scope. So we said exercise and testing that test everything over a period of time. So consider the full program scope. All entities within it, at least on a sample basis, one of each. Over time, each one of them, not just one of each, as you expand the scope. So make sure over time you cover everything. And what do you mean by everything? Really, what kind of the management approves and wants. So if management says no, we only want to do these 3 out of 10, fine, that's their call. But the point you could put up saying, kind of, shall we do the others over period of time, and would that give you more assurance? Is it worth? And ultimately, it's management's call. But I think as a BCM professional, you should be raising those issues and then kind of see what their response is. Your job is to bring the issue to their attention. How they deal with it possibly is not so much your problem. But if it's an open issue, then keep it on the list so it doesn't disappear from the radar, and you keep circling back to it periodically. Consider legislation, regulations, technical, logistic, administrative procedures, systems. Verify information arrangement, infrastructure, roles, responsibilities, locations, command centers, work areas, alternate sites. Validate technology and communications, availability of infrastructure, relocation of staff. Remember, when we talked about communications and crisis communications, we said the standard also says make sure that the communications alternate means are available. So it shouldn't be that the incident takes down your ways to communicate. Have backups for that, test those backups. Relocation of staff, your service provider for relocation, or our staff traveling themselves from location A to location B, primary to secondary. Everything must work basically. Some types of exercises. I am not going to go deep into this because this is kind of a more advanced topic, but I'm just mentioning some names. So, desktop, tabletop, simulations, live exercises, test integrated as a whole, and more names: call tree, checklist, desk check, structured walkthrough, many terminologies. I'll just again pause for a moment, noise. So all these would be much, much more relevant, I would say, at a level of 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, on a scale of 10, not at a 3, 4 level discussion. So we won't spend much time on this. I guess the simple thing is do everything that you believe needs to be done, and kind of that's management's call. So bring it up to management. What about this? What about this? Would you ultimately like to do a live test? Would you be okay to do live unannounced? Would you not want to do live? Should it be done on a weekday, working day, etc., morning, evening, afternoon? Ask them all the possibilities and then have something in place that management wants. So you fully capture it and space it out over time. So it's done in a reasonable period according to the organization and management expectations. With that, we stop here. We're going to take a 10-minute break. So see you all in 10 minutes. During this 10 minutes, we'll probably play a promo video. Often when you get onto YouTube, someone else is playing a promo video while the program is ours. In this case, we'll play the promo video. Perfectly okay if you don't see it, no issues. Do what you need to in these 10 minutes, but Hopefully, if you catch a bit of it, that's good. And other than these sessions, once it's over, in case you need us to do anything else for you, just drop a line to us, to our team, to me, as the case may be, and delighted to take forward this interaction. Of course, this course will end today, but hopefully the journey starts and is ongoing. It's not just one time. So, with that, thanks so much. We'll pause now. I'm requesting my team to bring on the promo video, and we'll start in about 10 minutes from now. Keep your questions in the chat line, please, in the YouTube chat line, not Zoom, and we'll try and address them as soon as we restart post the break, if any. Thanks a lot. See you in 10 minutes. So welcome back, and there are some questions on the chat line. So first of all, hi to everyone. Some had said hi to me, but I was teaching, so I didn't look at that. So thanks. Hi, Najma. Thanks very much. Good afternoon. Hi, Sandeep. Hi, Anil. Matthew. Hi, Syed. Suzanne. Hi, Rajesh. Okay. So Rajesh, question from you. Difference between exercise and testing, I covered that. So kind of, I hope it's clear. And it's a fine distinction. It's kind of bit of a fine line, but I'd say they both have their own slightly different focus areas, so to speak. Okay. Test supplier capability, yes. Okay. I think if you didn't do that, you could be in kind of lots of hot water. And there are entities that don't do it, and suddenly, so the pandemic is a good example. Quite a few organizations had assumed some supplier capability, and real life the supplier could not reach that location, could not, had equipment that they couldn't get there. Equipment did not work, spares not available. So quite a few cases of suppliers letting them down. So in some cases they postponed, in some cases they developed alternate suppliers. And who do you think they're going to go with in future? Probably not the supplier who let them down. So I think it's a double whammy. The supplier let you down, you had a problem, you had a reputational issue, you struggled, you had to spend time and effort. And for the supplier, in due course, you're going to say, look, I mean, if you don't meet my requirements, then what's the point? Why do we even have you? So should, good practice. And we'll cover a bit more on that as we go along. Okay. Matthew, this course is actually for, as I said, on a level of 10, about roughly 4, maybe 5. And we've always said this is for young professionals looking to get into BCM and kind of looking to understand whether or not BCM is what they like. So if I were to give a name, I'd say principles of BCM. And by principles, we're saying high level, what's involved in doing it. So the question you've asked, I would say, is too advanced for them. And any of those on the line, I think will confuse the hell out of them. So I'm not going to reply to that here. If you like, let me know separately. We'll set up some time. Happy to give you my thoughts on that. Okay, but I think doing it on this may not be appropriate given the target segment of the audience. Okay. Suzanne, thank you. Sounds good. And as I said, kind of, you could be teaching the course, but it's kind of mutual, I'd say, reinforcement of each other's. And I've learned a lot from you in terms of the supplier part. So thanks for that opportunity. Okay. BCM testing and exercising methodology. Yes, certainly. I'd say if you look at test and exercises, kind of the first few are tabletop, desktop, kind of walkthrough, desk-based, discussion-based. So we're just talking. But certainly, kind of, there is real life testing. So, for example, if you sent out a message saying next 2 weeks from now, enough time to plan, probably 2 weeks from now, we will all conduct our activities from building B, which is the backup site. That's a real test, kind of real exercise. You're physically actually moving to that location. Now, the decision you may need to take is, do you come here and then go from here? Or do you ask them to come there directly? You can take that call. Do you want it announced? Like I just said, you inform them that we'll be doing this 2 weeks later. And in the beginning, I think informed and announced is better. But after you've done it once or twice, then you may say, okay, I'm not even going to tell these guys. And it's need to know basis among some people in the organization. So they all come in the morning, and maybe 10:30 you say, oh, g- everyone move to backup site according to your rules. You probably don't tell them the rules. They are supposed to know that. So depending on your rules, whoever should go to the alternates, just follow your rules. Some know they have to go to the alternate site. Some know that they have to go home. Some have to keep in touch. Maybe some have to do something else. Some go to the command center, as the case may be. So follow your rules. So that's again a real exercise. So these are all live, real exercises. By they could be simulated, kind of. So okay, sorry, withdrawn. No, they are live, but they could be done on an off day. So it's still live. You're practicing it, but you're not practicing it on a working day. You're practicing it on an off day. And in due course, as you get better, then you can even do it on a real day. So that's truly life. It's kind of the world is going around. Your company is operating, and suddenly you press the brake as approved by management. So yes, I think there is a good way. But if you learn mountaineering, you don't kind of go to the mountain to start planning and getting better. You go to an artificial environment. You climb the cliff. You probably have a trainer, mountaineering institute. They teach you how to drive those kind of nails into the wall and the ropes and things like that, and safety techniques, and going there as a group together. So you have each other's back, etc. All those kind of things. After that is when you get into real life and kind of reach the base camp of Mount Everest and then further. So similarly, it's a stage by stage process. It's like climbing a ladder, but it's a ladder worth climbing. Okay. I'll stop the kind of video, uh, the camera per se, uh, get back into the slides. So just give me a sec. So reviewing arrangements, review, look at it again, as simple as that. So BCM review process must verify that the organization's BCM program ensures that key products and services and their supporting critical activities and resources have been identified and included in the strategy. Key emphasis being the word resource. Okay, kind of resource is critical. Resource is really what you want to ensure. I'll pause a moment. I think the slides are now coming on to YouTube. So yeah, we are up and live again. So what is BCM? And sometimes I ask that question when I teach my programs. What is BCM? The fact is, every day, literally, there's some surprise or the other, right? I mean, not maybe not a day goes by when nothing unexpected happened. There's something or the other. So what's business continuity? I mean, we manage, right? As organizations, we've always managed for centuries since organizations have been there. We didn't have something called business continuity. So what's different? So kind of the way I see it, business continuity is when there's a key impediment to availability of resources. What resources? People, facilities, utilities, technology, uh, all kind of those processes, and funds. A lack of funds has caused the inability to continue. Uh, so critically, we say, okay, if we don't have resources, then how would we manage? Or if we don't have some key resources. So that's what BCM is. So back to the first point, ensure that key products and services and the supporting critical activities and resources have been identified. Where do we identify critical activities? In the BIA. And resources, we also, if you recall, I mentioned 5 things that we look at in a BIA. All product service activities delivered, resumption timelines, number 2, everything delivered, number 1, resumption timelines, number 2, interdependencies, number 3, vital records, number 4, critical assets, number 5. So number 4 and number 5, vital records, critical assets, these are resources, something you need to continue. Okay. We check that the program includes processes and documents and that accurately reflects the priorities and requirements. So what has to be done, what has to be done next, and what does not need to be done because it's non-priority and we don't want to spend time on it right now. That should be up to date. It should be effective. It should work. and it's appropriate to the level of risk and concerns and priorities of the organization and as articulated and expected by management. So as a whole, we have done what we believe needs to be done. Okay, that's what we are checking. Effective fit for purpose competence. So are the people competent? Have they been trained? How do we verify that? Um, First of all, maybe kind of through the classroom or the training post the classroom to check competencies, and your exercise and testing will tell you whether they're able to do what they're supposed to do. And that's why we train them, so that they're able to do what they're supposed to do. Uh, Looking to ensure that we have command control by management, coordination, and seamless response. So, kind of the right entities talking to each other. Where does that come from? Incident response structure. So, the right teams doing the right things, engaging together with themselves, within themselves, with related team. So, all a very smoothly functioning machine, ideally. Each cog driving the other cog, kind of exactly like a machine, giving you exactly the right output that you expect. Effective BCM training and awareness. So, what's training? The hands on ability to do. For those who have to play a role, they need to know what to do. You need to create a BIA. I should know how to do a BIA. You need to do a risk assessment. You should know how to do risk assessment. And awareness for others. Okay. Many in the organization are not involved directly in the BCM initiative, but they still need to be aware of the evacuation process, of the emergency process, of the alarms, of where to go, where to communicate, who to inform, how to stay safe, how to keep others safe. So all of that is necessary and important. It all kind of is part of the full BCMS. And procedures are communicated to staff who are competent and able to do them. So again, before I conduct a training, testing or exercising, I must know what the procedures are. So once plans are built, I should know my role. I should know how to play that role. I should have practice, and I should be able to do it in real life. Arrangements, change control. So we put it in once, but of course things change, people change, numbers change, roles change, the scope changes, new things come in. Uh, so what do we do to make sure that those changes are captured and implemented? In my view, self-assessment is a great process, and we'll talk very quickly as we go into this about self-assessment. That have a process to identify your changes on an automatic basis, immediate basis, and change the documentation, BCM documentation for those changes. So very soon the documentation should reflect the new and the change process, not the old expired process. So that's what we are doing in the review process to make sure that constantly we are on top of what has to be done. Okay. Ideally, do documented reviews. So do reviews and document them. So it's not just a question of performing it, it's a question of even maintaining the audit trail and the records. And audit trail, not just for the audit team, audit trail even for your internal assurance and your management and your learnings, that this was done on this date. This is what was done. These are the people involved in that decision who approved. So it's good to capture all that information. So documented reviews should be performed. And what are we trying to do? Ensure continuing suitability, adequacy, and effectiveness. So it should continue to be suitable. We built it when we built it, it was suitable, but now things have changed. It should still be suitable. So let's change what we need to. Adequacy, meet the requirement. Effectiveness, kind of perform, give the desired output, meet the objective. Uh, how do we check what the objectives are? Typically, that's laid out in the policy. So going back to module one, what does the policy state? The policy states management expectations. This is what our BCMS should do. This is what we want to see. This is what we expect. This is our vision of what things should be. Let's circle back. Did we manage to meet those expectations, that vision? Is this how things are working? And maybe there are good reasons to not do it that way. No problem. Kind of. So let's then change the policy. Go back to management. We feel this is the better way. What do you think about it? Kind of. Then change the policy. Either way, they should be aligned. That's important. They should be in sync, talking to each other. Review should challenge, rework, improve assumptions made. So, like the pandemic, I mean, we are now challenging that assumption. The traditional BCMS assumed that kind of only maybe kind of 100%, 30% would be there. Now we're doing 100%. It assumed that the incident would be over soon, overnight, 1 or 2 days, maybe a bit more. Now it's kind of gone on forever. It assumed that people will be available kind of when needed. With pandemic, that's not the case. So many assumptions to be relooked at. So relook at them. I hope all of you have relooked at your plans post pandemic and have a document that lays out pandemic learnings. If you haven't done that, please do it. If you need help with doing that, let us know. We've done a lot of them, but you must have something that very clearly documents what went right during the pandemic and what went wrong, and where you are right now, and therefore which of those learnings need to be incorporated. That's very important exercise. Six specific techniques or processes or activities: audit, self-assessment, quality assurance, supplier performance review, management review, performance appraisal. Five, I'd say, but six is depends how we take it forward. Okay, performance appraisal. It should be taken to learnings from that into possible improvements for the BCMS. Then yes, it can qualify for number six. Otherwise, I'd say five till that stage. Okay. Audit, starting with the first one. What is an audit? Audits look at checking that signed off procedures are being followed. So management said that this is what must be done, and this is what you signed off in the procedure, that this is what we will do. But when it was inspected, it was realized that you're not doing that. So the procedure is not being followed. There's a process break. So audits typically look at ensuring that what should have been done is being done, what was supposed to be done, what was signed off as being done is being done. Normally, it's done by an independent team. So someone who need not worry about the consequences of the reality. If the team reports to the person being audited, then there's a conflict of interest. The answer is I should say there's a problem, but if I do it, he'll jeopardize my career. He'll give me a bad appraisal. He'll hold back my bonus. So let me not state the reality. That's not fair. That's not a good way to do things. So typically, audit involves independence, where the people conducting the audit without fear can honestly uh, be factually state all facts about the reality and not worry about the consequences. So typically, audits would focus on verifying the organization's compliance with the signed off BCM documents and procedures. This is what management said, and is it happening or not happening? And sometimes audit may go beyond not just internal, but even external laws, standards, strategies, frameworks, good practices, regulations, compliance, etc. What the country wants, what the industry wants. Uh, Post the audit, it's expected that management would know the reality, evidence-based idea of what actually is happening in line with the signed off documents, procedures as it should be happening. So are the should things happening properly or not is what the audit should point out. Typically, audits would identify potential shortcomings versus actuals, um, whether procedures are being followed and whether overall competencies and structure and processes and all the right things are happening in the right way. If there are improvement opportunities, those should be pointed out so that they can be improved and made better. Often audits would ask questions, maybe not point solutions, but often audits would ask questions, and it's for the unit typically to then look at what is an appropriate solution to meet that issue. As an audit process, we won't cover much that in much detail, but just kind of at a high level in this, because the lead audit program itself is 5 days, so you can get an idea of the depth to which that program will go into. So, and we certainly can't do justice to that depth in this session. So, at a very high level, what is involved creating an audit program? So, it's like your exercise and test program. Over time, what audits are being done and where, which unit, start date, end date, kind of thing. High level scope, criteria, coverage, how it's to be done, maybe nominating the audit lead so that he can then take it forward. Typically, he would then prepare an audit plan, so which is kind of the exact activities to be conducted during those days and by whom. from the audit team, and who do you need from the other side, from the auditee side, the people being audited? Whose presence do you need for what at what time? So kind of to lock in their calendars and let's make sure that they are fully prepared. So it's an effective session that yields the desired answer, saying are things happening okay or not, and everything happening okay or not, that should be happening. You consider the documentation, you consider the records, you consider their understanding, talk to them, make sure that it's not just in place from a mechanical process, it's in place well from a thought leadership process. The concepts are understood, the principles are being followed, the desired objective and results are correct and meaningful. You may have guest auditors for gaps. So, for example, technology or specialized machinery, have an expert in that. So you're sure that the auditor knows at least as much or perhaps more than the auditee. The auditee can't fool the auditor. No, no, this happens this way. And the auditor doesn't know and he says, yeah, yeah, okay. So let's make sure that we are fully equipped to evaluate the auditee's knowledge and actually make sure that the auditee is giving us correct answers. And then you would typically issue an audit rating. So, and did you pass? Did you fail? On a scale of 5, where were you? Is this satisfactory, unsatisfactory? Different ways to actually measure and provide a result on the audit, so that the management or the authority who gets the report can then get a very real understanding of how good or not good the unit is, and based on that, any actions to be taken to fix the situation. So that was point number one, audit. And then we have self-assessment, which is the unit itself looking at its activities. So what's a self-assessment? As the word says, assessment of yourself, you assessing yourself. So maybe rather than going to the doctor, you do a self-examination before going to the doctor, and you probably can't go to the doctor every day, and maybe it's a time and expense. You say, let me at least do what I can do myself, and then go to the doctor. So technically, normally an audit would be conducted formally approximately once a year. So do you want to wait 12 months for the next examination, or you're saying, let me at least put a process in place to self-examine on a regular basis once a month, and if there's a problem, let me fix it, and if I need help, I'll raise my hand and get the help. But not that we don't look at our own readiness for the next 12 months, and then if something's not happening, it's a problem, and eventually the system breaks down. That's the objective. So let's put in place a self-assessment process to make sure that we know what's okay, what's not okay, and if there's a problem, we can highlight it. So I think that's kind of one of the questions that popped up earlier. So I would recommend a monthly self-assessment, checklist of say 20 questions. And if I were you, I would measure those 12, 20 questions, those 20 questions approximately on percentages or what's changed. So it's not a question, has something changed or not? It's a question, how much is the change? So if I had to build it, I may just say 5%. And of course, it will change by industry. There may be no standard answer for everyone. So perhaps, has there been any new customer who contributes more than 5% of volumes or profits? Have transaction volumes increased by more than 5%? Is there more of a turnover? Things like that. If new people have been incorporated into the BCM team, has their training been conducted? Simple questions where you can have a yes or no answer. Yes means things are okay, nothing to worry, nothing to be done right now. And a no means there's a red flag. You may still choose not to do anything, but basically, at least there's a potential issue which you need to look at in depth, take a look at it, the implications. You may still choose to live with that gap, but then it's a conscious decision backed up by management rather than a unconscious decision of ignorance. I'll just stop for a moment, again some noise. So ideally about once a month, 20 questions should take you say half an hour to tick that yes, no quickly, based on some data, some information. Retain that data and information, retain this, send it up to your boss or to the risk head or to quality assurance or whoever is monitoring this process. Get a second opinion, and hopefully they agree with you, and you know that you've taken a look at things and it's good for now. So maybe like just measuring your own temperature periodically, rather than necessarily running to the doctor for each and everything. And in an audit, you can't, because an audit is a process that takes a lot of time to set up. So you will need to have the expertise and the competence to manage on your own. So I think self-assessment is a great process, and it adds a lot of value if it's done well. Quality assurance. Now, we spoke in the audit that the audit will actually suggest any problems in following signed off procedures. Audit often will not look at improvements, and audit sometimes does not look at improvements. And audit, I would say, sometimes should not look at improvements. In fact, it's possibly at times a conflict of interest. I speak as an auditor myself. I was internal auditor head for my unit in City, and there are times when management would ask us for our opinion. I mean, the danger is if you say yes, then when you go back and audit, they'll probably say, "Oh, you told me to do this," even though you said yes for a certain situation. They're doing something else. They totally misunderstood what you said. Maybe they deliberately misunderstood, but it's a way to kind of beat the auditor. Uh, so certainly, audit has a positive intent of protecting the organization, but often audit may say, "You tell me what you plan to do, and I'll give you my opinion on it." Not that I'm sitting and suggesting and making suggestions, particularly regarding improvements. So improvements typically would be quality assurance and not audit. So it's always good for the organization to have its own unit that looks at improvements. What more should we be doing? What differently should we be doing? What new things have happened? What new standards have come? What new thought processes there? What hasn't worked so well? What do we need to do better? Like your learnings from the pandemic. So various outputs meet, not just meet the defined requirements, I would say, are keep improving beyond the defined requirements. So raising the bar, I would say, should be an obligation of quality assurance. So that helps you keep improving and changing the document so that when audit comes back, they are looking at the revised documents at the higher bar, not the older documents of kind of the lower expectations. So we are looking at improvements of efficiency, effectiveness, of doing the right things, doing them in the right way, of doing more, of doing better, increasing metrics, making things more stringent. In exercise and testing, how can I raise the bar? By more units doing the exercise together, fully end to end. As we said, by eventually a live exercise, maybe initially on an announced basis, later on unannounced. Many ways in which we can keep raising the bar. So I would say that's the objective of quality assurance. Supply performance review. Kind of thanks, Matthew. Your question. Rajesh had a question. So critically, I mean, look at, and Suzanne, again, kind of, you've done some great work in this area. So look at capabilities of now. It's easy to say all suppliers. That's what the standard would say. Is that practical, feasible, easy? Not really. Quite difficult, actually. At the very minimum, I'd say segregate your suppliers into categories. So larger, more critical, less critical, maybe on a scale of 100, kind of um, 2, 3 categories, or maybe a percentage, do an evaluation, something that allows you to categorize which are the ones that you'll struggle more with if they let you down, and which are the ones that you may struggle less with. And then obviously deal with the more critical ones, and over a period of time, the others. You may even have, so I've been a credit officer in a bank, sanctioning loans and doing credit appraisals, and this is what we may call a risk-based system. So look at the larger risks of supplier outage and probably focus on those, and then work your way down to the lower ones. So conceptually, you should do all. Practically, not that easy. So prioritize them. If eventually you could get to a system where you're covering all, great. What you could do is at least instruct them all to keep reporting to you. Nothing stopping you from doing that. That's their work. So kind of not your problem. And that itself will give you an idea which of them are sending in good outputs, comprehensive, which of them are not, which of them always do it on time. So at least they are 100% reliable on time, and they're organized on their time reporting. There's a good chance they'll be organized in real life also. So that again can give you some ideas that this supplier is always late. the inputs that they send are always not great. There's always some rework. So some heads up. So I think there are smart things you can do, but good to put in place a rigid supplier evaluation process. Again, this course is not appropriate to go into that very depth. For now, we are just looking at principles. So put in that principle, evaluate them. How? Pre-contract, before you award the assignment, send them a big long questionnaire, get their responses, talk to them, go visit them, ask their references. Many things you can do prior to signing the contract. In the contract, build in all these commitments, like them reporting and them conducting testing and exercising and involving you, and right to audit, and everything that they need to do to ensure that they are good. And also the ability to ongoing verify them, periodically report, check everything that you can do smartly. Maybe by them spending more time and you just looking at that output, but put in place the same principles. So whatever your auditors do to you to evaluate your BCM readiness is something that you should consider ensuring that is also done to evaluate your suppliers. Management review, great process, a fantastic process, huge value. Management reviewing the organization's business continuity management system at planned intervals. What intervals? Each organization must agree what's a reasonable interval for them to evaluate the business continuity management system. Um, Sometimes people do it once a year, and that worries me. I think once a year looking at the BCMS is really not great. What would make me more comfortable is once a quarter, at least once in 3 months. Better than that, even nice. Sometimes organizations say we have a monthly management meeting, so we'll cover BCM in that five 5 to 10 minutes. Decent process. It's like maybe in a cricket match, taking ones and twos, keeping the scoreboard going. Doesn't inspire me with a lot of confidence. Periodically, you need a deep dive discussion also, dedicated half an hour or an hour, only BCM, start to finish, maybe once a year, maybe once in 6 months. I think that has huge value. So this 5 minutes in every management meeting, I don't believe is a substitute. It's a decent option, but it's not a full 100% substitute. So either get your 5 minutes or 10 minutes in the monthly management meeting. So things are ticking along. You kill issues as they come, but there's a good chance often the agenda would overflow. Often your time wouldn't come. Often they are short of time, so they don't. It's not a quality discussion. So I would say nice if once a quarter you can get once a month. Sorry, one hour every 3 months, dedicated, planned, and the 22301 has some great inputs and some great outputs as a part of the management review process. So excellent session, very excellent section, very well articulated. And if you follow that, there's a good chance you'll have a fantastic management review process. So you can truly be sure that management is looking at the BCM program properly, start to finish in detail, full concentration, and even helping you remove bottlenecks and even telling you of the way forward, what's coming up. So you get a sense of what the future holds, and you can then start changing your BCMS according to forthcoming developments. So I think huge value in this. The good thing is in a management review, you have all the right people there. You've got everyone who's needed, someone who can sanction the fund, someone who can take ownership of that initiative, someone who will monitor it. So there and then, if there's something that's important, this is exactly the right forum to whom you can surface an issue and expect for it to get addressed. So a fantastic opportunity. Don't miss it. Performance appraisal, as I said, kind of taken in a leaf from the BCI's book. A good thing. Certainly helps you evaluate the team, but you need to be smart in terms of understanding the situation and scenarios and then translating them into improvement opportunities for the BCMS. So ask the people during the performance appraisal what went well, what didn't work well, why didn't it work well, why is it working well, what should be changed, get their opinion and take those thoughts forward. That's when this can be a great input into the BCM improvement program as such. Okay. So this is review. We've covered kind of 6 aspects of reviewing. Quickly kind of getting to home stretch right now. Improving. As I said, this is often called maintaining, but it's really saying I'm not just replacing the spark plug. I'm if a new better variety of spark plug has come, I'm going to put in the latest spark plug. So going beyond what you started off with. So improving BCM arrangements. We've identified huge learnings, huge opportunities, some things that are not going well, which should be improved. So some learnings and things to be done, some that are going great, but still we can improve them. We can raise the bar. We can do more next time. So improvement. So based on these, we have a huge amount of improvement opportunities. What do we do with them? We've got them, but now let's update them in the documentation. Let's get that document signed off. So now we have the revised and updated and enhanced version of what we started off with. Distribute that, the updated, amended, changed BCM documents. What? Pretty much everything. So what are we reviewing? Actually, we're reviewing everything. Literally everything that comprised your old BCMS when you started off. Policy, procedures, BIA, RA, plans, strategies, everything that we've talked about. Relook at them all, change them all as needed, get them re-signed off, and ensure that the right people get them so that they know this is the new document and this is the document that they need to follow. Archive the old document, stop looking at it. Maybe they just keep it for reference purposes if needed. But other than that, replace it with the new one. Other improvements, uh, lots of lots of ways to identify other improvements. So the press, the newspaper, I see them all the time. This happened today, this happened here, this happened. It flags off a thought process. You could learn something as much from your industry as from something totally different, a different geography. So lots of opportunities from what real life does and happens. Look at it at the net. Keep your eyes and ears open. Newsletters, lots of things. So anything and everything that you feel should be considered, surface it to the right person in the organization. Let that person take it forward. Change to structures, processes, services, activities, purpose, staff, context, anything that happens on its own and anything that you feel should be done to get a better BCMS. So all of them, and follow exactly the same process for this as you do for your own activity. So whatever you did to implement the initial BCMS is exactly what you should be doing now. Outputs, so kind of revised documentation, enhanced evidence, proactive management and governance. So kind of things are working. They work in time. We do the right things at the right time. We get the right results. We now have verified that we have the right people. They know what they're doing. Some people who didn't know have been trained. Some places where we had gaps, now those gaps are fixed. So right things are in place. We know where we are in terms of risks. Some new risks have come, some old ones have gone. We've revised our solutions and strategies for those risks. So we feel we are more in control of the current situation. And we are retaining all of this as part of our BCMS. We've revised our plans, kind of they have the right information in terms of the people involved, and therefore we are good to go. So kind of we've refreshed, like you had a house, you fixed the house first. You didn't just paint it without fixing it, and there were broken walls and kind of plaster chipped. No point painting it like that because then those things continue and it's rework. So may as well fix up the house, kind of little things here and there broken, put them in place, replace them. It's now looking pretty new and good. And now is when we paint it. So we have a great looking house, and important this house is kind of good for today and good for the next envisage 1 year. So 5 minutes left. We have finished module 6. So kind of the 12 hours are almost over other than 5 minutes. Looking at the questions. Thanks, Matthew. Appreciate. Okay. Thanks, Anil. Yes, this is, again, I'm making the same point. This is for, I'd say, people. The intention of this is to build a pipeline, as simple as that. People may have heard the term business continuity. I have a big concern right now that people may think pandemic equals business continuity. In my view, pandemic is very different. In pandemic is a very rare kind of business continuity. It doesn't happen much actually. Maybe 2 years later, it'll be a forgotten memory, and we'll again kind of go back to BAU. And if something happens again, we may need to restart. But importantly, now that the pandemic required so much of business continuity readiness and efforts and initiatives, really like to build on that, and really like to make sure that people understand the distinction, and really like that we strike while the iron is hot, while new BCM jobs are opening up, while organizations realize that they need good BCM people. To be clear what's involved, if I speak for myself, I'm an engineer, but why did I go in for engineering? I mean, I didn't have much of an idea what engineering involves. So once I got into it, I felt that it wasn't what excited me, and I went on to do an MBA, which I enjoyed. Had I known what was involved, I may not have done it actually. So the intent here is to kind of have people learn from our experience, understand BCM, hopefully be excited by it, hopefully want to get into it, and hopefully take it up as a career path. So thanks, Dinesh. Appreciate your attendance and appreciate everyone else's attendance. Um, Give me a like if you like it. Give me a dislike if you dislike it. Send me any comments now more if you like. And we are just going to ask you to fill in the feedback, please. Would really know what to do better on this. My intent right now is to do this in a few other geographies. Probably not this time zone. This is the time zone where we've done quite a few things this time. And of course, we've spent these 12 hours also, but in different time zones, in different geographies. So the feedback link has just come on YouTube. If you don't mind, just click on this, give us your comments, and we'd like to incorporate that, and perhaps do a few more of these in different time zones. So truly, we are able to kind of reach out across the world. And that's something I guess that pandemic has pointed us towards. It is a global community. It kind of lots of sharing of thoughts. We've done, thanks to many of you, some great, what I believe is great, nice global cross-cultural sessions. And what I've really enjoyed is in some of our summits, got a speaker from Saudi Arabia, one from Singapore, one from the UK, one from Europe, one from the UAE. And that's so amazing. We didn't have the ability to do any of this earlier. So kind of that really thrills me that we are getting an idea of what they do. They are learning from us, and hopefully kind of there are at least 1, 2, 3, 4 things that we take forward from the session, which we can incorporate, we can get an idea from, something, talk about some mutual appreciation, and the world coming together really. So thanks very much, Najma. Appreciate, thanks to have you here. Thank you, Matthew. You've made my day. If it's worth your Saturday morning, you've really made my day. Thanks so much. Appreciate. And again, kind of once a quick request again, do please fill up the feedback form. So I'm going to stay on the line till my team confirms how many people have submitted the feedback form. As my friend Daman says, good, bad, or ugly. We are really not bothered about how good or not good the feedback is. All we want is for the feedback to be honest and correct and your true opinion, because that really matters. So thanks very much. Thanks. Comment from Pradya. Thank you so much, Pradya. Appreciate. Saeed. Olokaido. I believe, okay, I'm not committing here to forward all the notes. I hope my team will take it forward. I think normally once the session is over, they do kind of send it to everyone. Okay. Thank you, Uttam. Appreciate. Again, you've made my day too. So my day has been double made today. Good. For my friends who are fasting today, thank you, Anil. So Anil managed to submit the feedback form. Thank you, Anil. Appreciate it. For my friends who are fasting today, I hope this actually little bit diverted your attention and hunger. Kind of if you're busy, thank you, Najma. I appreciate. A big thank you to all of you who've attended. So yes, my team is great. I'm lucky, fortunate. Thank you. So my friends who are fasting, I hope this little bit managed to divert your thought. And honestly, when I'm in the UAE, I normally fast during Ramadan. I don't get up early in the morning, so the sleep cycle issue I don't struggle with so much. But I get up at a normal time. I take breakfast at my normal time, and then during the day, no water, no food, nothing at all till iftar time. So I kind of I partially experience what you're going through, and it's tough. So hats off. Not an easy thing to do. A huge commitment by all of you. So for all my friends who are fasting, Ramadan Kareem. Wish you all the happiness, all the success, everything good in life to you and your loved ones. Couple of minutes more. Okay. Thank you, Najma. You've got the feedback now. Yeah, if you need any information, let us know. So just waiting for some more people to confirm that they've sent the feedback, and about 2 minutes more, and then we'll stop. So if you need anything from me, from my team, just write into this email ID. Happy to do that. And just for the information, everyone, the current thought process is to do one more of these 12-hour sessions, but probably a bit earlier, targeting it more towards Southeast Asia. So trying to cover Australia to Singapore roughly. That's the likely target segment, and accordingly we'll work out the timing which is appropriate to those geographies. But the intent would be, if the feedback is good, the intent would be to try to do one more of these. So stay tuned and we'll let you know. Okay. Shukran, Najma. Thank you so much. So thanks very much once again. Thanks everyone.